Hello everybody and welcome to Amphlett Reviews, back with another test disc from Arrow Video. Very generously sent me a test disc to dive into In the Mouth of Madness on 4K, checking out the film itself and the new transfer alongside all the brand new special features before its release date on the 27th of October 2025. So a couple of months away, guys. So this is just a bit of a preview, a bit of a what to expect on the edition, and to see if the new transfer is worth upgrading from the previous Shout Factory version, which I imagine most people would have had because it was the brand new 2K scan, just on Blu-ray, separate special features, and was region A locked. So in terms of the UK release, this has never had an actual, I don't believe, an actual Blu-ray in the UK. This has been stuck on DVD. It's had previous Blu-ray editions, I believe, just on the standard version, and then Shout Factory did theirs many years after, which has been the default version for quite some time now, actually. And I recently have sold my edition, even before getting the test disc, so I knew I wanted to get this new 4K edition from Arrow Video, which are just absolute stellar. As mentioned in previous reviews from the V-Cinema sets, and obviously Spawn, which I've recently done, other separate videos, just in the editions themselves, they're consistently just pouring out some fantastic editions and presenting some of my absolute favorite films for the first time properly on a high definition 4K transfer. Something like Riddick, for instance, Pitch Black and Chronicles of Riddick, the recent Dark City, the spaghetti western films, so on and so forth. And they are still pumping out some really awesome films coming out for the rest of the year as well, in terms of their collaboration with Warner Brothers / New Line Cinema, diving into the massive well of those movies. And there is plenty of it on the way for sure, and it's very, very exciting right now if you are a Arrow Video fan and you're seeing what kind of movies they're presenting and what kind of partnerships they're giving with, including with Shudder as well, releasing a lot of their catalog for the first time properly on Blu-ray in the UK. So In the Mouth of Madness has definitely been a highly sought out one in terms of John Carpenter's lineup, being the fact it's not got a good release in the UK. It's had a decent release in the States, but you've had to import it, you've had to get a multi-region player. So now for the first time properly in the UK, Arrow is presenting the 4K and Blu-ray edition for In the Mouth of Madness, released in 1994, packed with brand new special features. Now we'll have to point out these are different special features compared to the Shout Factory, so keep that in mind if you are a collector of interviews and archives and kind of all the commentaries, because they are going to be quite different compared to what the Shout Factory version has. So maybe worth keeping a hold of that edition. So just like my previous test disc reviews, I'll be diving into the feature film itself, talking about my honest thoughts and impressions on the film and the new transfer, and I'll be talking about the special features alongside it. So if you're not interested in my thoughts on the film and you want to skip straight to the special features side of it, just to see what's on there, just see what's been talked about, there will be a timeline in the description below. So if you want to check it out, you can skip ahead straight away. So just like the film itself, do you read Sugar Cane? Let's dive into In the Mouth of Madness.
This one will drive you absolutely mad.
The riots began because the stores could not meet the demands of Sutter Kane's novel, In the Mouth of Madness.
Kane disappeared 2 months ago without a trace. You're the guy that writes horror books.
You can forget about Stephen King. Kane outsells them all.
In the Mouth of Madness, released in 1994. I was 1 year old when this film came out, being the fact I was born in 1993. As you can tell from the shelf, I do own previous John Carpenter-based films, 2 previous Arrow versions, including The Thing and Big Trouble in Little China. Where is the 4K for that? I am looking at you, Arrow Video. Is it coming? Is it not coming? Let's see what happens. But yeah, The Things has quite a few different editions along the way as well. Quite interesting. But the In the Mouth of Madness is for today's video on 4K in terms of the test disc. I had a chance to check it out not too long ago, and it is gorgeous. It is a fantastic edition, great picture quality. So if you're in doubt about the transfer, it is a fantastic 4K edition, whether you want to get the special edition or just the regular version itself, or if you just want to check it out on the Arrow Video player, usually it's a 7-day free trial, or if you've been picking up the previous Arrow editions, you usually get a 30-day free trial included in the editions themselves. So definitely a way of checking them out. And as mentioned, this is a John Carpenter film, which I don't think I've talked about a lot of his films on the channel, which is definitely something I want to dive into maybe down the line. I usually would do more of a ranking type video to kind of discuss them, or maybe do a kind of like a podcast base, or maybe do an individual review for certain films maybe down the line, depending if you guys are interested in that. But John Carpenter, I've been a huge fan since day one, since, you know, I've been into films themselves, with Halloween, of course, the original, and just diving into his films as I've gone older and just kind of discovering more of his fantastic work from the height of his career to the more lower end in terms of the 90s, and even ones that I kind of dismissed or maybe didn't like, I've actually gone back to and actually really enjoyed more so. So there is quite a selection with this director, and he has done a massive amount of kind of variety in his kind of filmography, quite an extensive amount of kind of different genres, from horrors to sci-fi, comedies, you know, love letters to Hong Kong movies, adaptations. There are so much going from the 70s all the way up to the early 2000s, you know, in terms of his kind of level of craft, whether he's, you know, the big studio money, whether he's doing the indie films, the big Hollywood movies, which is Big Trouble in Little China, to the kind of the more smaller, kind of scrappier films, the more kind of riskier movies. A massive variety, not just writing, directing, but doing fantastic scoring, memorable, iconic scoring, more collaborations with his son, doing the new Halloween scoring as well for the new Halloween films that came out not too long ago. In the Mouth of Madness has definitely been a bit of a shiner, definitely within his kind of filmography, and there are some fantastic, iconic kind of characters and villains and excellent films as displayed here, and this is just some of the tipping point of some of his films. But In the Mouth of Madness has definitely been one of my personal favorites, and sure, I'm so happy it's getting a really good release for the UK. And you have Sam Neill back doing what he does best, and he's great in this film. You've got an all-star cast of fantastic talent, just really kind of really hammering it up and really enjoying themselves. And this is a breezy film. It's an hour-and-a-half movie, and it definitely feels a bit longer, but in a good way kind of thing. It definitely doesn't overstay its welcome, but it's paced just right in terms of getting the horror aspect, the kind of the tension, the chaos that's building up around him, and really settling into the kind of concept this film's going for. And In the Mouth of Madness is, of course, a giant love letter to Stephen King and his work. And this film is referenced as part of his concluding chapter in the Apocalypse trilogy, starting with The Thing, and then Prince of Darkness, and ending in The Mouth of Madness, which is a good little kind of trilogy of films to watch in terms of the kind of the chaos and the paranoia, and it's more psychological horrors and what it builds up to. Obviously, all three films are very separate, nothing to do with each other, but I can see why people would theme this a part of a kind of a theme that he would do, part of his filmography, and all have different decades been released included, which I think is really, really cool. And I think In the Mouth of Madness definitely stands out. As mentioned, this film's a giant love letter to Stephen King, and everything about that kind of world of kind of creativity and the idea of kind of writing coming to life, and what if the writing was a controlling force from another entity, from another dimension, and just really big kind of crazy concepts. And in this film you have an apocalyptic level kind of theme. You have the classic kind of setup of a Stephen King kind of narration with a bookseller and a writer going missing. And this feels very deliberately familiar if you've watched or read any of Stephen King's base kind of work. Even if you played the recent Alan Wake, in terms of the first or the second one, that's more based on kind of Stephen King's work in Twin Peaks and things like that. This idea of the kind of the writer or the investigator aspect, very classic kind of tropes. I theme in mind while watching this film, you have a very obvious, very forefront Stephen King kind of, you know, riff, and even mentioned in the film itself in terms of Sugar Kane, this kind of phenomenal kind of book writer that's made about 3 or 4 books at this point, and they're all best sellouts. There's a movie coming out of his newest one called In the Mouth of Madness, and this is where the film gets very meta, and it's basically within a film, and you've got a very interesting kind of, you know, opening to your film in terms of Sam Neill going completely crazy, Sam Neill doing what he does best. If you watched Event Horizon, you're definitely channeling that kind of inner kind of darkness in him, and I really like this kind of late 90s kind of, you know, phase of his career, because he's definitely experimenting. You know, he's done the Jurassic Park age, of course, but some of his more riskier kind of, you know, villainous or kind of madness kind of roles, that's where the Sam Neill that I like and enjoy watching is on forefront here. And I think this is actually used before Event Horizon, so definitely fits into that leading up to it for sure. But he's absolutely fantastic in this film, and he is our kind of fraudulent investigator. And we see a very early example of this in the start of the film. We kind of debunk someone for burning down their own warehouse, and obviously it just shows how thorough he is. You know, he has a smart suit, he has the kind of the smoking, he has the cigars and cigarettes, and he's been brought on by this kind of publishing firm because Sugar Cane has gone missing, and his newest book, In the Mouth of Madness, is being delayed, and they've had to stall it. And basically it's the hot new craze that if you read it, you go insane, and you get the famous line, "Have you read Sugar Cane?" And it's very interesting. And you got the publisher, you got the manager who runs it, basically who reads the books beforehand, basically got insane with a giant axe and basically tries to kill Sam Neill, the character, and obviously gets wrapped up into this world, and basically he gets recruited by Charlton Heston's character, and basically saying, go and find him, we've got a limited amount of time, we'll pay your fees, we'll pay your travel. And through reading his books and just kind of understanding the world of Sugar Cane, and find references to a kind of a small little hick town out in the middle of nowhere, and people read this, they're basically going insane, and the pressure to release this book, to get this book out, is basically mounting up, and there is a movie to be released as well, which is very funny put early on. But at the start of the film, Sam Neill has basically gone completely insane. He's put in a mental institution, and things are getting worse, things are getting really bad out there, and he's telling his story of what led him to finding Sugar Cane, the kind of the author, and the events that would play out into the rest of the film. And as mentioned, this is an hour-and-a-half movie, super breezy, super fun, super chill to kind of watch. Even though I mentioned this is an hour-and-a-half film, it feels a little bit longer than that, but in a really good way. It definitely feels very deliberately paced, and I really like the suspense and how it's built up, and the character kind of back and forth banters I think are fantastic, and just really kind of amping up the kind of the tension and the kind of what's happening, and the imagery I think is just really apparent, and you get some really excellent kind of visual and special effects. Really holds up pretty well for the 90s, and some fantastic imagery, and all around the world of kind of extra dimensional kind of creatures, and kind of the writing, and this idea of people being pages, and things coming into reality. It's all very kind of familiar, kind of thematical kind of trope in terms of this idea of the writer, and the idea of kind of like the darkness feeds off Alan Wake and his writing, feeds off creativity, and we've got this kind of extra kind of dimensional kind of creatures that are giving him power, giving him kind of strength, and the more people read, the more power he gets, the more things are writing into reality. And I really like the idea of this kind of fiction and reality blending in, and the idea of kind of the more powerful he gets, he can turn real people into sort of characters into his own book in a weird way, and shape them, or kind of write them to act in a certain way, or kill themselves. And it's just this town of imploded within inside itself, and obviously Sugar Cane's up to no good within this kind of very gothic, very kind of evil church that we see in the film. And as mentioned earlier, there are references to characters in the books that are becoming real people, and there's certain details in the hotels, and the little old lady finding from Twin Peaks, having the kind of the husband chained up in the basement, and the certain kind of imagery, that's all very apparent, and the little fine details. Something is very off. It's crazy or madness to think this film is 20 years old plus. It feels very fresh, it feels very kind of on point, and just super creative, not just within its kind of direction and its suspense and its visual and practical effects, which are some fantastic practical effects and some really fun ideas, and how it kind of plays with characters, but just in terms of the way it's presented, the music is just spot on, very kind of Metallica, very heavy, and definitely feels very familiar. Like I think Enter Sandman kind of vibes a little bit, but just an unofficial version, so very clever from John Carpenter to do the scoring in the film. And it just comes at a really good time in his career. This is, late 90s, he's kind of not having the best time at this point. Some of his films are not doing particularly very well. As mentioned, Big Trouble in Little China definitely kind of blacklisted him from Hollywood. And as mentioned, the entire cast and supporting characters do a really great job of kind of selling what's going on in this world, and Sam Neill just gives a really knockout performance and just having a lot of goddamn fun. And of course the ending to the film is very iconic and very kind of memorable, and it definitely plays with kind of this idea of kind of fiction and reality, a meta commentary, and a book and a movie within a movie kind of thing, and just having a lot of fun with itself. And I think it's a very easy, fun, breezy film that you could definitely put on part of a double, triple bill from previous John Carpenter films, do the Apocalypse trilogy, do some more of his kind of more madcap kind of movies. They definitely work very well, and I think Arrow Video has tapped into this ready for late October into Halloween, which is perfect time to watch this film with your friends, with some popcorn. Very easy to watch, slot in with your kind of lineup for the night, and definitely gets my seal of approval for sure. Even if you own the previous Shout Factory version, I definitely think this is a massive step up in terms of the quality, in terms of the picture quality. This is a brand new original 4K transfer, which I don't think it's had a 4K prior to this, and plus you get some really brand new exclusive extras. So with that being said, let's dive into Arrow Video's brand new special features for the film itself. So in the Mouth of Madness special features, we have a brand new 4K restoration from the original 35mm camera negative done by Arrow Videos with Dolby Vision. We have optional English subtitles, archival extras, which is quite a few in this edition, in terms of the audio commentary by John Carpenter and Sally King Carpenter. 2 separate audio tracks with the photographer as well in terms of the film itself. Brand new audio commentary by the folks at Colors of the Dark podcast. Making of Madness, a newly filmed interview with producer Sally King Carpenter. Do You Read Sugar Cane, a brand new filmed interview with actor Jürgen Prognau, which is our Mr. Sugar Cane himself. An archival interview with actress Julie Cameron. Things in the Basement, an archival interview with special effects artist. We Are What We Write, a newly featured in praise of John Carpenter, and In the Mouth of Madness, a kind of a analysis and kind of essay type video. New Appreciation by Film Scholar. And as mentioned, guys, this edition is packed full of archival special features, including the Horror's Hound Grounds, an archival feature looking at the locations used in the film, home movies from Hobbs End, behind the scenes footage, making of In the Mouth of Madness, vintage features, theatrical trailer TV spots, and many, many more. Arrow Video always does a really good job of kind of reserving and bringing back all those kind of archival extras onto the disc, and kind of giving you the kind of the first-hand kind of 90s making ofs and the trailers and the kind of the practical effects and the original kind of audio commentaries. So they always do a really good job of kind of reserving that stuff and giving you first-hand kind of behind the scenes, and then bringing exclusive new extras and interviews with all of the kind of the creators and actors involved in the film, which I think is really important. And even though I haven't had access to it yet, there is going to be a brand new booklet on the special edition, which has essays and kind of, you know, analysis and kind of deep dives into the film, which I always think is worth its weight in gold as well. Alongside the special features, you also get some written material, which adds on to the benefit of the film. The special features on this edition really give you a lot of information and really kind of deep dive into some of the actors' kind of, you know, history of kind of making the film and their experience, and just kind of nice to see kind of a modern perspective of 2025 kind of deep dive into this film and kind of seeing what these actors are up to and how they think of the film many years later, which is crazy to think. So that's been my thoughts and impressions on In the Mouth of Madness on Arrow Video's brand new 4K transfer. The transfer itself, as mentioned, absolutely excellent. Definitely a massive step up from the previous Blu-ray editions, especially the Shout Factory. Special features are definitely on point in terms of brand new and archival, alongside probably the essay and the kind of the deep dive analysis which you get with the special edition version, which will come out in October. This film is definitely worth checking out if you haven't seen it before. Definitely worth considering picking up on the special edition, 4K, the Blu-ray, or even just kind of seeing it for the streaming on the Arrow Video's video player as sure. So there's definitely a lot of options, as mentioned, and definitely worth considering for your purchase for October and slotting into a Halloween watch for sure. So what are your thoughts and impressions on In the Mouth of Madness? Please comment down below. So in the meantime, guys, I'm for reviews. Signing out.